What's going on, everybody? So I know in the last few videos, which I hope you enjoyed because they took me forever to make and edit them because I'm trying some new stuff, but I hope you enjoyed them. If you noticed in the last couple of welding videos, I've been using a new helmet. I haven't been using my my 3M speed glass. I've been using what we're going to be doing a review on today, the PANORAMAXX 2.5 by OPTREL. But first, before we get into that review, I got two things that I want to share with you. One, full disclosure, I'm not being paid by OPTREL to do this review. Number two, I received this helmet from OPTREL for the purpose of the review free of charge. So no, I'm not being paid to do this review. It will be 100% honest. My likes, my dislikes, everything. Number two, or three, whatever you want to consider it, what I want to go over with you guys real quick is the charity that OPTREL is a part of. Now, there's a charity called Light for the World. Light for the World helps people all over the world, and not just in foreign countries, in the U.S. as well. OPTREL is a Switzerland-based company, so they operate all over the world. Light for the World is a charity that helps people who have cataracts and also cannot afford to have the surgery to correct those. So basically, Light for the World helps people see better. Now, just a few quick stats on the charity. In 2016, they provided over 52,000 cataract operations. They operated on 28,000 people to treat trachoma. They supplied glasses to 62,000 people, and they treated 10 million people to prevent trachoma or river blindness in other countries. So the charity's pretty awesome. And what OPTREL is doing is basically they're trying to pay for 3,000 cataract operations. And the way that they're doing that is they actually designed a very special helmet that is based off of the PANORAMAXX 2.5, and that helmet looks like this. See if we can get it to focus. There we go. So it's a special edition PANORAMAXX 2.5. It's silver, and it has some neon areas in here to kind of signify, you know, light for the world. It's a super cool helmet, and what they're doing basically is they're manufacturing a limited number of these helmets. They should be available now, actually. And every single bit of the proceeds from the sale of those helmets goes directly to Light for the World to try to help 3,000 people gain their sight back. So super, super cool charity. I'm glad that I got to be a part of it. I'm glad that OPTREL's doing it. And by purchasing the special edition helmet, which is, of course, a little bit more expensive than the base PANORAMAXX 2.5, you will be helping out someone with cataracts who may not be able to see, who may be legally blind, and you may be able to help them to see again. So super cool on your part, OPTREL. Really, really awesome. All right, so now that we got all that out of the way, I'm going to put the links in the description to the charity, to Light for the World, to OPTREL, to everything, so it'll be there. Let's get in with the review on the helmet. Alright guys, so we're going to unbox this helmet so I can show you what comes in the package. Now mind you, I've been using this helmet for about a month now. I didn't want to do a review on it until I had a thorough chance to put this thing through its paces, use it as much as I possibly could, so that I could give you an honest idea of what's going on. So I got this about a month ago. So yeah, the box looks a little funky, and you're going to notice that the helmet looks used because it is. I wanted to make sure that I gave it the best possible review that I could. So let's crack this box open and see what's inside. Alright, so you're going to get the helmet. And I already took, there's going to be a clear protective film over this. I already took that off of there because I've been, like I said, I've been using this helmet. Here is just a quick glance at the helmet. The inside, the adjustable headgear, and then you're also going to get an extra face shield for it in case you damage the one that you have. Stick this over here, and then underneath here, if you lift this up, you'll have a bag with all the operating instructions. And then also inside the bag is this USB cable. Now we'll get into this a little bit later, what this USB cable is for, but I'm going to tell you it's pretty cool. Alright, so first impressions on this guy. Now the first thing I noticed about this when I pulled it out and put it on for the first time is it is exceptionally light and exceptionally flexible, which is kind of cool. I mean, you can literally just flex this thing in any direction. You can kind of bend it around, move it around, and it just, everything about it is super flexible, which is awesome. Now it makes for a super, super light hood. And the other thing I noticed were the multiple controls on the side for the headgear. This particular control up here will actually tilt the helmet back and forth and move it forward and backward, so that when you're wearing this helmet, and you'll see why you need to move this headgear back and forth to get this thing positioned properly, but there's extra dials. So the extra dials were kind of cool, I thought. So now, I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see. There we go. That's nice. So inside there, you'll notice that this looks like a pair of ski goggles on the inside. You've got a little spot for your nose right here. You've got the viewing window. And then up and above that, you actually have all of your controls. Now these controls are super cool. And I'll tell you why. You have your sensitivity adjustment, a delay adjustment, an auto adjustment, and a manual adjustment. Now this helmet has something really cool in it that allows you to set it to auto, and it will auto adjust the shade based on the brightness of your arc or the amperage that you're welding at. Now that is such an awesome, awesome feature. Now the next thing I noticed about this was that there is a button on the side of this thing right here. That button is for grind mode. Now I don't know how many of you guys are welders, but in most welding helmets, when you want to stick them into grind mode, you have to flip them over, flip them up, push a couple of buttons inside, and then you end up in grind mode. Well, what's really nice about this one is you have this little button on the side here. You push that button, and you get a nice little blinking blue LED in the front that reflects off of the front glass here. So when you put this helmet on, I don't know if you guys will be able to see it through the lens. Probably not. But when you put this helmet on and it's in grind mode, you can see an actual reflection in the lens from that blue light, so that you automatically know that you're in grind mode and you don't accidentally flash yourself. So all you have to do is push that button, put it into grind mode, and you're good, which is awesome for me because I do a lot of, you know, weld something and then have to cut a tack, or weld something and then have to grind it down, or have to grind a piece of pipe or cut a piece of pipe in the middle of welding, and that makes it absolutely amazing for me in the fact that I could just hit a button on the side, go into grind mode, hit the button again, be right back into welding mode without having to lift the helmet in any way, shape, or form. I think that's my second favorite feature. First favorite feature of this helmet is just how light it is. How absolutely light it is. You put it on and you don't even realize you're wearing it. We'll get into some of the specs on this thing in a second, but these were just first impressions. Was the fact that it was so light. The viewing window is so wide, even though it looks like it's truncated a little bit as compared to like my 3M, which has, you know, this massive viewing window on the front. That one doesn't look as big, but I can tell you what, they say Panoramaxx for a reason. The Panoramaxx, it literally is panoramic. I get just as much side-to-side peripheral vision that I do in my 3M, and my 3M actually has side windows on it, so that you can see out the sides. This, I don't need them. Now the reasoning behind this little nose piece in here is so that you can get the panoramic view. And then the reason for this button over here is so that you can adjust this helmet so that it is either closer to your face or further away from your face. And that is huge. So that's basically my first impressions on this helmet. It felt super light, almost to a point where it feels cheap, but not cheap. You know, it's very well made. It's just very, very light. And sometimes when things don't have weight to them, they have kind of a cheap feel. But this doesn't have that cheap feel. It's got a nice feel, yet it's light, yet it almost could feel cheap, but it's one of those deals. So, alright, let's move on to some of the features and specs. So the reason this is called the Panoramaxx 2.5 is not a version number. 2.5, there wasn't two versions of this beforehand, and now they just came out with 2.5. The reason being is that the shade, when this helmet is in its light stage, is at a 2.5 shade. Now, most other helmets run a 4 or a 5 shade in the light stage. This brings a whole new world of, you know, not having to lift your helmet when you're done with your arc. You can see your piece without having to lift the helmet. It just makes it unreal. And I'm going to try right now to give you guys a representation of that by showing you the OPTREL through the camera, and then I'll show you my 3M speed glass through the camera, and you'll be able to tell that these at their light stage are very much different. Alright, so here's the OPTREL in its light stage. Alright, so you can clearly see my hand, the 3M speed glass, all that stuff really super clear. There's really no darkness to it. It's just got a slight green tinge to it. Now let's switch over to the 3M. Alright, so there's the 3M, guys. So now with the 3M, you can actually see that it is quite a bit darker than the Panoramix. Quite a bit darker. You've got quite a bit more of the green tinge to it. You've got quite a bit more of darkness on the actual helmet over there. And you can see the camera's even having trouble focusing through it. So there's definitely a massive, massive difference between this helmet and the 3M speed glass. Let's zoom this back out. Alright, so the next feature is, although this is a digitally controlled helmet, it has all analog controls. So now the reason that that is a benefit to have analog controls in a digital helmet is that you have an exact representation of what you're doing. Like in here, when you move the manual setting, you know that you're in shade 8, shade 9, shade 10, whatever. Right now I have it set to about 9.5. Then you have a mode switch that allows you to do either auto or manual. Then you have an auto compensation dial. So for instance, if you're in automatic mode and it's a little too bright for you or a little too dark for you, you can adjust that accordingly. Then of course you have your typical delay, which is the delay from the time the arc is struck till the time that the helmet darkens. And then you have a sensitivity, which basically, again, allows you to set sensitivity based on arc, based on stuff. When you're welding in super low amperage situations, like, you know, 20, 30 amps, sensitivity and delay become a big thing that's really, really handy to have a setting for. Now you'll notice this little USB connector right here, and that's what that cable's for that I showed you before. Now most all digital helmets have batteries inside of them. The batteries inside of them are usually the button cell watch batteries. Now this also has a battery inside it, however it is a lithium-ion battery, and with this little port right here, you can actually charge that battery. It's got a little tiny battery indicator right here that'll tell you when the battery needs recharging. It's got the charge port. You just plug it in your computer and charge it up. And I'm assuming, I didn't get any confirmation on this from OPTREL, but I'm assuming that once they come out with maybe a firmware update for the panel itself, you can actually do firmware updates through this. But for right now, all I'm 100% on is the fact that you can charge the batteries inside. Now to complement that particular charging sequence, on the front of this helmet, you have a huge solar panel across the top of the helmet, which that solar panel will also charge the internal battery. So unless you're doing a ton of welding in the dark or you're doing a lot of low amperage stuff, you'll probably very rarely ever have to charge this helmet. I've been using it for a month and I haven't had to charge it once yet. I haven't even gotten a low battery indicator, and then right next to the low battery indicator there, you can see is the grind mode. When you push the button on the front, it'll start blinking, and then you can see it from there. So having these dials is great. Now let's go over the auto feature. The auto feature is probably one of the best things in the world. A lot of times when I'm welding, I have to keep resetting my shade because I'll go from welding stainless steel or titanium at 35, 45, 55 amps to welding thick aluminum at 130, 140 amps, to to welding mild steel at 160, 200 amps, depending on what I'm doing. Having an auto feature is amazing. Now, I was skeptical about this auto feature on this helmet because I've dealt with things that are automatic, and usually they're more manual than they will ever be automatic. But I can honestly tell you that this works. The auto shade is absolutely phenomenal. And the reason I say that is because how many times have you guys been welding? Holy crap. How many times have you guys been welding and you start to weld and you kind of get around a corner a little bit and the arc kind of goes out of your vision? When the arc goes out and around your vision, it either flashes the helmet over and over again, or you start to lose your ability to see because that bright arc isn't there any longer. This helmet will auto adjust. As that arc gets dimmer, the helmet gets brighter. And as the arc gets brighter, the helmet dims down. I thought it was amazing because I rolled over the edge of a piece of tubing and the helmet didn't flash me at all. It literally just lightened up enough so I could still see what I was doing, and then as I came back around the piece of tubing, the helmet darkened back up again. Absolutely incredible. I cannot tell you how amazing this helmet is. Now, we're going to go over yet another feature on this helmet, and then I think I'm going to give you my final thoughts, and yeah, we'll wrap this video up. We don't want to make it too super long because, you know, these aren't the most interesting videos in the world, but had to be done. Alright, so the last feature of this thing, I don't have any real welding through the helmet style videos on this thing just yet. I haven't had a chance to set the cameras up between the two different helmets. But this has a technology which, I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's called True Color View. Reading the side of the box, that helps. It's called True Color View. Now, True Color View, it allows you to have a better representation of the colors that you're looking at, which are super important when you're welding, because it gives you the ability to see what the coloring on your weld looks like without having to lift your helmet. Now, I'm sure you saw the difference between the OPTREL and the 3M when it came to darkness versus lightness in its light stage, but I'm sure you also saw that with the OPTREL you have a much better representation of actual color than you do with the 3M. The 3M is still very green. You know, all the colors are very washed out. Everything looks just basically green. Whereas the OPTREL, you can tell reds from blues, from greens, from all that stuff. So, really amazing helmet. Again, sensitivity functions, the autopilot function, which is the auto shade, absolutely incredible. Works absolutely flawlessly. Shade levels from 2.5 all the way up to 12. And they'll all work in auto. 2.5 obviously is the light stage. 5 is your very first welding or grind mode stage, and then it goes all the way up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All the way up to shade 12. Again, grind mode, absolutely phenomenal. Push button, click, you're in grind mode. Push button, you're out of grind mode. Multi-sensor detection, this helmet has yet to flash me. My 3M has 2 main sensors on either side of the lens, and if I happen to rotate just a little bit out, I will get flashed from that helmet. I have yet to been flashed by this helmet, which I've put it in some really awkward upside down positions, and it's been absolutely perfect. Now, my final thoughts on this helmet. I was skeptical at first because I've been a 3M fanboy for years. I mean, you can see this helmet, I've probably had this lid for, I want to say going on about 8 years now. It's definitely been beat up. It's seen its share of stuff. I've probably put 15 or 20 new lenses on the front of this thing. Never had a problem with it. Always been a workhorse. A little heavy, a little clunky, but other than that, it's been 100% perfect. And a good friend of mine said, listen, you got to try the OPTREL stuff. It's absolutely amazing. You won't regret it. So luckily, I contacted OPTREL and they sent this out and asked me if I would review it for them. So I did. My final thoughts on it is my new go-to helmet. It's the new helmet that I use every day. I use it for all of my TIG welding. I'm not using it for MIG welding because I don't want to destroy it. I want to kind of keep it nice and have, you know, the 3M for MIG welding, exhaust systems and crap like that, because the parts for that are super cheap. The OPTREL is also very inexpensive for the consumables, but I just want to keep this helmet nice. I love it. It's comfortable, it's light, it's everything that I wanted. I could see so much better. My welds are coming out better because I can literally see the center of the weld, the edges of the weld. I can see everything that I couldn't see with the 3M. The auto shade is absolutely phenomenal. It works flawlessly. I don't even have to think about it. I can change amperages on the fly. I can weld hotter, longer, faster, and not ever have to lift the helmet to change anything, which is incredible. That is one of the most amazing features I've ever seen, and it works. It actually works. I like the fact that you can adjust the helmet in and out to your face. That's amazing. That's one thing that you'll have to do as soon as you get it. You have to adjust it to your face. Now, let's get into the things that I don't like about this helmet. One thing I don't like about this helmet is the headgear itself. It's very rigid. Like, you can't even bend that. Very rigid. Alright guys, so back to what I was saying before my camera battery went, hey stupid, change the battery. The headgear on this is just, it's very rigid. Like, you can't move that at all. And even the front half here is super rigid, and the top is really, really rigid, and I'm hoping it kind of breaks in over time. It hasn't really done it yet, but I'm hoping it breaks in over time. The other thing that I'm not real happy about is that this headgear just moves freely. So the problem that I always run into with it, and I'll show you, is when you put this helmet on, if you've got it loose enough to where you can actually just, you know, do one of these and flip it down, when it's up at its fully position and you look down, it is forever doing that. Now, if you tighten it so that it doesn't do that, then you have an issue with this. You usually have to do it twice. It only comes halfway down. So that might not seem like a big deal to anybody, but it is. Because now, when you take my 3M, the 3M, and I don't know if you guys will be able to hear this, but this headgear is very, very flexible. You can move this all around. This top half is super flexible. This front, I mean, I can literally take this entire headgear and just move it in any way, shape, or form. The other thing that I like about the 3M headgear is that at the top, there's a detent. So when you look down, it doesn't go anywhere. And then you can literally flip it up and you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. You do whatever you need to do and then boom, comes right down. So the only flaw that really drives me nuts about this OPTREL helmet is that headgear. I think they could improve on that quite a bit. They could definitely do a much more comfortable headgear. I mean, you can't even, you go to try to move this like I did with the 3M and it moves the entire headgear. So they definitely need to kind of work on the comfort level of the headgear and the adjustability, because this knob is kind of funky sometimes, and you know, the headgear is either too tight, or if you have it too loose, it doesn't conform to your head and it slips off, and then you've got the whole issue with the helmet just randomly coming down on you. So OPTREL, you guys need to kind of update this headgear a little bit, and then this helmet would be absolutely perfect. So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. That was just a, you know, a quick 10-15 minute review of this OPTREL PANORAMAXX 2.5. Please hit the links in the description for Light for the World. Amazing charity, amazing what OPTREL is doing. I really appreciate the fact that they're giving back and they're helping out in an industry where they are protecting people's sight. OPTREL is seriously awesome for doing that. So, again, full disclosure, I was not paid for this review. I was, however, sent the helmet for free for the review, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you're a welder, I highly recommend this helmet. It's amazing. Only issue you're going to have is with the headgear. Takes a little getting used to. It's a little uncomfortable at first, but once you get used to it and you get the settings dialed in just right, then you're absolutely good. One thing I can absolutely recommend to you is make sure you put the little pad on the nose gear that comes in with it, because a lot of times I have a tendency to put my helmet on just like that. And when you slap that thing down, it smacks the bridge of your nose so hard. So you have to make sure that it is absolutely perfectly centered and right in front of your face. And then when you flop it down, it'll go right over your nose and it's perfect. So that's it for the OPTREL helmet. Again, guys, thanks for watching this one. I know it's different from a lot of our other videos, but I like to give credit where credit is due. If this thing had been a total piece of crap, I wouldn't have even reviewed it at all. But it is not. It is absolutely amazing. It has replaced my 3M as my main TIG welding helmet and will continue to be just an awesome, awesome lid for me. So I recommend it 100%. All right, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos. We'll have part 7 on the 240 coming pretty soon. I have some other stuff that I'm going to film today with welding some pots and stuff like that. So nothing super, super interesting. Just a little bit of more of the mundane stuff. But all right, guys, I'm going to stop babbling. Have yourselves a wonderful evening, and I'll see you on the next one.